98.5, this is Mornings with Mike. Good morning and welcome to a brand new week. Hope you had a fantastic weekend. What have you got up to? Stick around. Coming up after 10 o'clock this morning, I'm going to be talking to Sue Joy, author of The Joyful Table. But up right now, every Monday morning at this time, is adjusting his headphones here, is Grham Irvine. Good morning.
How are you, Mike?
I'm pretty good.
Fantastic.
Beautiful day.
It is, yes. Good. Yeah, I nearly didn't get in here. You know, there's lots of swell.
Of course. The surf would be
I could hear it calling
today.
I don't know what it's like. Actually, I haven't looked, but I imagine it would be quite good.
Not that cold today.
Yeah.
It's actually quite nice.
It was about 12 when I took the dog for a walk this morning.
It's not bad. Better than 4
that was all right.
5.
Oh, yeah. I said to someone yesterday, getting out of the car when it's 6 degrees and then you've got to get into your wetsuit, that's the major issue surfing during winter. But
of course.
Oh, dear.
Anyway,
that's okay.
I hope you had a great weekend. We won't talk about the
Thanks,
football,
mate.
of course.
No, we won't. Not at all.
We'll just move on very quickly about that.
Yes. Don't think there was any on the weekend, was
there? Nah. All right, worry about footy. Worry about footy next weekend, sure.
Right.
Now, last Monday, we the last few weeks, we've been talking about teenagers.
Yeah.
And how can we parent better with our teens?
Yep.
And it really starts even from probably 11-ish, maybe 11, 12.
Absolutely.
You're really starting to kind of get into that space, aren't you, really?
Yeah, it is. And look, it is somewhat of a unique space, although I would say that, you know, the principles that you use for your preteens are going to be similar to the ones that you use for your teens. You just have to fine-tune them a little bit. And so for those parents out there that do not yet have teenagers, if you have a 6-year-old, just remember that at some stage they're going to be a teenager, all things being well.
Yeah.
What you do now impacts significantly in how you make it through the teen years. But, you know, if you don't feel that you've prepared well for the teenage years, don't panic, okay? That's a great line from Douglas Adams' Restaurant at the End of the Universe, I think. Don't panic. Anyway.
Oh, that's good. You've got a good memory.
Yeah, I thought you'd want to know that.
Yeah, thanks for that.
Because, you know, there are some things that you can do that will help, okay? Yeah. And I think with teenagers, probably the thing that we find as parents the most difficult is communication.
Yeah.
Because teenagers tend to, and again, generalisations, right, there are always exceptions, tend to go into their shell somewhat, okay, even those vivacious 10-year-olds that you could never shut up, particularly if they're boys, you know, when they become teenagers, the conversation doesn't flow quite as well. Yeah. And part of the challenge is that it's in this space where we're moving from boss to coach. Okay, so we're actually used to being the boss. So we're used to saying to our 6, 7, 8, 9, 10-year-old, okay, this is what I want you to do, this is how you solve the problem. Now, you know, maybe we should talk about that a little bit, but let's set that aside. We are used to being the boss. But of course, the older our children get, the more we want to move into that coaching space. And the difference is how we deal with things that have to be solved. So the problem solving is the major difference. Right, so when you're sitting in the boss space, very often you as the parent do the problem solving and you tell the child what the solution to the problem is.
I've got this figured out.
That's
This is how you do it.
That's exactly right. But of course, a coach often doesn't do that. So, you know, the coach will say, wow, 6 behinds and 1 goal. What do you think happened?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so there'll be a conversation because as a coach we want to draw the solution out of the player. And that's really essential as a parent of a teenager. We want to help the teenagers start to develop those problem solving skills. And of course if we give them the answers to the problem,
they're not even thinking about it.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
That's exactly right.
We'll take a break. We'll come back and talk some more, Graham. And you mentioned we'll come back and talk about a book, which is a really good resource.
Let's do that.
Been around for a while, but still relevant and still current in this day and age. You are on 98.5. This is Mornings with Mike. Back soon.
Oh, what's wrong with you?
My renovation's a complete mess, and the tradies aren't turning up when they say they will.
Should have used Modus Property. They renovated.
We're on 98.5. This is Mornings with Mike, and with me this morning is Graham Irvine from Riverview. We're talking about teenagers this morning.
Yeah.
Mentioned the book last week. Can you refresh my memory,
so
Graham?
Dr. Thomas Gordon, and it's called PET, Parent Effectiveness training.
Okay.
So Dr. Thomas Gordon, PET, Parent Effectiveness Training.
Easy one to remember, PET.
It is, PET.
Yeah.
Just remember
It's
PET.
been around for a while.
It has, Mike. Yeah, look, I would have come across it in the 80s when I was doing my teaching degree, because he also has a book called Teacher Effectiveness Training, and the whole book is really focused on the concept of communication. Yeah, because communication is really difficult, right? Because I've got to take something that's in my head, I've got to talk about it in such a way that what you get in your head is the same as what's in my head.
Sorry, what'd you say?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's exactly right. I have no idea what you just said.
That's what I mean.
You know, I've had conversations with people and they've spoken to me for 5 or 10 minutes, and at the end of the 10 minutes, I've gone, I have no idea what you just said.
Yeah, I've had
Now,
that. Yeah.
part of that might be my challenge.
Yeah.
Part of that might be their challenge. But probably it's a combination of the two. Right? I remember talking to a mum who wanted her 12-year-old to tidy her room. And I said to the mum, so when you use that phrase, what do you mean? And mum went, well, I mean everything gets put away. And I said, how does it get put away? She said, properly. I said, well, what does that mean? Right? And she said, well, you line up all the shoes, you hang up all the clothes. And I said, well, here's your homework for the week. I want you to go and talk to your 12-year-old, and I want you to ask your 12-year-old what she thinks it means to tidy her room. And when Mum came back the following week, Mum went, yeah, she thought it meant making a pathway from the door to the bed so you don't fall over.
Just part the sea.
That's it. See, that's communication.
Yeah.
That's why it's so difficult, because a person thinks something, we code it into words, we say those words, the person listening decodes it, and they then have a thought. Now, the idea is that the two thoughts are actually somewhat similar. You know, but there have been times for Gay and I when we've been arguing for 20 minutes, and at the end of the 20 minutes we've gone, well, what are you arguing about? Well, I'm arguing about this. I'm arguing about something else. And it can, look, it's true in all relationships, but it's very true when it comes to parenting teenagers. And that's why Gordon's book, Parent Effectiveness Training, I have found over the years to be excellent, because it looks at that one deal. How can we better communicate? And I guess this morning, the only thing I wanted to touch on was the idea of door openers.
Okay.
Yeah. Because what we often do as parents, again, talking about this move from boss to coach, is that we so often jump in and give the solution. Now, particularly dads, because men are solution driven.
We are.
Right? Now,
yeah,
women look for solutions too, but they look for it in a different way.
We just want to fix it.
That's exactly right.
Yep.
That's right. And I learnt very early as a school principal with a staff of 15 women that whenever one of my female staff members came into my office, the first question I needed to ask was, are we having this conversation for me to help you fix something, or do you just need to talk about it?
That's a great way to start that conversation.
Yep. And probably 6 times out of 10, it was, I just need to talk about it.
Right.
Right? Whereas my natural instinct is to go, well, look, that's easy, just do this, this and this. But they weren't looking for that.
Yeah.
And so it's the same with our teenagers. When they're facing a problem of some sort, we want to give the solution, because that's what the boss does. But we're not the boss. We're moving into that area of coach. So door openers are just little phrases that encourage the teenager to speak.
Okay.
Right? I had a lousy day at school today. Well, what did you do wrong? You know, you hear what I'm saying? That tends to be, well, what happened?
Yes.
Right? So we immediately jump in to say, give me more information because I want to give you the solution. Right?
Yeah.
Whereas if you go, no, that doesn't sound very good. You've made no critique, right?
Okay.
And you're just going, tell me a little bit more about this.
So does that help, Graham, then continue that conversation
Absolutely.
for a bit longer rather than a short, sharp, okay, and that's it? And
That's it. That's exactly right, Mike. That's what we're looking to do. We're looking to go, okay, do you want to tell me about that?
Okay.
Right? Or even just going, right, and nodding a few times.
Okay.
You know,
And
so
just holding back.
absolutely.
Okay.
Right? not
Well,
jumping in.
Yeah, Graham, we'll take a break. We'll come back and talk some more. What was the name of the Thomas
Dr. Thomas Gordon,
Gordon,
Parent Effectiveness Training.
PET? Back shortly. My guest in the studio this morning and every Monday morning's Graham Irvine. We are talking about parenting teenagers. You are on 98.5. Nice to have your company on this Monday morning. On 98.5, this is Mornings with Mike, and Graham Irvine has been talking about parenting from our teenagers, and a good book, good resource, PET.
Yeah, so Gordon speaks about this idea of door openers.
Yes,
right? So, even just saying, oh, wow, would you like to talk about that? So, your teenager says, oh, had a lousy day, or even if they don't express that, you know that something's going on.
Yeah,
right?
Of course, yeah.
And so saying to someone what's wrong generally doesn't do anything.
Right.
Okay? You and I both know that with our wives. So what's wrong, honey? Well, they probably know that. It's actually probably works more the reverse. When they say, so what's wrong? Nothing.
Yeah, nothing. I'm
Nothing.
fine.
Yeah,
All
I'm
good.
fine.
Yep.
That's right. All good. That's right. Yep. And so teenagers tend to sit in that space. So if we use that expression, so what's wrong? Well, it actually doesn't help the conversation. But something as simple as, wow, looks like you had a hard day. And then shut up.
Zip the lip.
That's it. God gave us two ears and one mouth, and they should be used in that proportion. Yeah. And that's what's so hard for the parent moving from this area of boss to coach, is that we know we've got the solution. Look, you and I have spoken about this before. It's watching your child do something, thinking, oh my goodness, I could get it done in 30 seconds, and it's going to take you 10 minutes, and your hands just itch because you just
get out of the way and
let me do it.
And let
That's
me
right.
sort this.
That's right.
Yeah.
But you can't do that because problem solving is one of the greatest adult skills that we need.
Yeah, for
we
sure.
use it all the time. And if we problem solve for our children at whatever, particularly in their teenage years, right, then how do they develop those ideas of how to problem solve?
Yeah.
And I've seen it with families where the children are adults. They're 18, 19, 20, early 20s, still living at home. And mum and or dad, often mum, but mum and or dad, right, want to solve their problems for them. Well, they can't live their life with you solving their problems for them. They actually have to develop that themselves. So door openers are a way of just seeing if the conversation might go a little further. Now, it may not, but they're far better than jumping in and going, well, of course something's wrong. Now tell me about it and I'll fix it. Now, they aren't the words that we use, but often they're the text behind the words.
Yeah, that's right.
So just those simple things like, wow, looks like you've had a hard day. Or, hey, you want to talk about it?
Yeah.
Now, if the answer is no, that's cool.
Is it best to leave it then?
Absolutely.
And there may be another opportunity.
That's exactly right.
So if it doesn't work the first time, Graham, do you kind of keep chipping away
you do.
Just look for that next opportunity?
Correct.
To go, oh, this might be
That's right.
And a great way to practice.
And look, remember that there's a significant gender difference to the way that men and women communicate. So it's true in teenagehood as well, right? That blokes tend to communicate doing something, women tend to communicate about doing something.
Right. Yeah, that's a good thought.
Right? So ladies will get together and they'll chat. I remember Gay saying to me at one stage, so when you and Brian played golf on a Wednesday afternoon, what do you talk about? And I looked at her and went, what do you mean? Now, the reality is when Brian and I played golf, we were often on the opposite side of the fairway. But when guys are together, we tend not to do that, right? And she couldn't understand how two blokes could spend 3 hours doing something together and not talk. So there is that gender difference. So, dads, if you're going to talk to your son, right, then do it doing something. So the deal is men communicate shoulder to shoulder, women communicate face to face.
That's right. It's good.
All right? So, it's setting it up. Yeah, and don't be discouraged if they don't unload first time up. It's not the issue. The issue is that you're, as the parent, learning the skills needed to make sure that you give every opportunity for your teenager to have that conversation.
It's great, Graham. We are out of time once again. Love to keep chatting, but we shall continue next Monday
Let's do
morning. Final reminder about that book, the
Dr. Thomas Gordon and Parent Effectiveness Training.
And the PET is an easy way to remember. Let's continue next Monday morning.
You bet.
My guest in the studio has been Graham Irvine from Riverview. We've been talking about parenting teenagers this morning and the last few weeks. Nice to have your company on this Monday morning. Coming up after 10 o'clock, I'm going to be talking to Sue Joy, author of The Joyful Table, and we're going to be talking about some healthy food that's on the way after 10, right here on 98.5.
98.5